or the actual fantasy build, but pretty much anything that has Valkyries in it can pretty much it's not that it should be called the fantasy build, but it kind of colloquially is called the fantasy build. Anything that has Valkyries in it. So it's just one little way to describe it. And here comes Hoejja with another group of Mutalisks, a pretty solid group of Mutalisks, along with Zerglings to back him up. A combination attack could be quite effective, but it doesn't look like he really has the Zergling numbers for that to be overly effective. He's waiting for a couple of Lurkers. Once they get into position, he might be able to do a ton of damage to Fantasy's Marine counts here. Obviously, those Marines will need to split very, very effectively. We'll need some good scans to really take care of these Lurkers. We see Lurkers going down in some different positions here. I wonder if Hoejja doesn't realize that Fantasy is moving up into the northern area, and I feel like I missed something there in the base of Fantasy as I was looking at the mini-map. The observers were pointing out something and going, oh. So I'll check that out for you as soon as I possibly can. Here comes Fantasy trying to catch some more of these Mutalisks out in the open, unable to do so far. Queen's Nest completed. Hive is coming up, and I think that's a third starport for Fantasy. Is he gonna transition to Wraiths or something? That would be really weird, but it's possible. Oh, stop Lurkers! Stop Lurkers! Stop Lurkers! Oh my God, Fantasy's gonna get raped! Oh, Fantasy's losing a whole control group or so of Marines, and those stop Lurkers do a ton of damage. I don't know why in ZVT stop Lurkers aren't used in 190% of games, because they really should be. There's no reason that your initial Lurkers should be on non-hold position, I don't think. Unless you know that they've been scanned already and that your opponent knows that they're there, they should. I think that they should always be on stop Lurkers, your initial Lurkers. So and Hoejja doing that they're catching a lot of Marines by surprise, setting a little trap for them. There's also some Lurkers to the south as well. If Fantasy goes into that area, there are some Lurkers with some Lings as well. Could catch some more Marines there as well. Some decent Mutalisk micro going on here. Although we did just lose another one, picking off a couple Marines though here and there. Still see a couple of Lurkers out in the field in different positions, able to do a lot of scouting, able to just delay this attack as long as he possibly can, delay the push from Fantasy, and he's doing a really good job of that. Fantasy hasn't really been able to put any pressure on at all. It's been all Hoejja just keeping the pressure on Fantasy as much as he possibly can. But once these Wraiths are revealed, Fantasy has gone for a ton of Wraiths. Once those Wraiths are revealed, it could be really bad for Hoejja. I think that's why you don't see Fantasy with the huge numbers of forces. You haven't even seen a tank. Remember, SKT1 at this point should have a Science Vessel and a tank or two out at this point. See 3 control towers going down. What the heck? That's a lot of control towers. That's a lot of dropships and or Science Vessels and hopefully BCs eventually. That'd be sweet. If we can see a couple battle cruisers in here as well. Go all FBH on Zerg and put out a couple battle cruisers. That'd be really cool. The Wraiths are about to be revealed though, and here they come into the natural expansion of Hoejja, and Hoejja's gonna be like, WTF, mate? I only have like two Scourge and a few Mutalisks, and a lot of those Mutalisks getting caught by Marines. Hoejja trying to react really quickly, getting over there, and it looks like, oh man, Hoejja just lost like 5 drones already. Just so painful. Here come the Scourge and the Mutalisk. But cloaking, as soon as it's done, is going to be yet another problem. And you know that Lita has fantastic Wraith micro. It looks like Fantasy just lost a Wraith there. 2-port Wraiths is really the Lita build versus Zerg. And but these Wraiths in the hands of Fantasy are doing a pretty good job as well, picking off all of these Mutalisks. All the Mutalisks do go down, and now they're just going to have a free reign, picking off tons and tons of drones. And Hoejja's falling super far behind right now, not able to do anything to really maintain his mineral lines here. Losing a lot of drones, losing a lot of control, and here comes the M&M forces also trying to push into the natural of Hoejja. But it also looks like Hoejja may be making a push of his own with Zerglings and Lurkers. But pretty much no mining going on at the natural expansion. Taking a look at the fences of the natural, one of those Lurkers goes down to concentrated Wraith fire as a scan went down. The natural expansion for Fantasy, there is a tank, a pseudo wall, and some medic marine as well. And these Marines are also going to be able to catch a couple of Lurkers out in the field doing nothing. And these Lurkers aren't doing anything. Oh, Hoejja, not a good place for you at all, Hoejja. Hoejja taking a ton of damage here. And those Marines able to back up that tank super effectively and just defending it against all the Lurkers and Lings that came in. That tank never even went down at all. See a couple dropships produced as well. So this is going to be a combination Wraiths are gonna pave the road, and then dropships are gonna come and drop the tech, probably drop the main, drop the tech of Hoejja, and pretty make it a GG. Which, it looks like it's going to be awfully effective, I gotta say. It looks like it's going to be insanely effective with enough race there to take down a lot of Overlords, reducing the psi cap, and then the medic marine groups that are going to come in. It's just going to be so effective. We're seeing more drones go down here at the natural, and here come the marines being dropped into the main, and the Hydras are going to see, but if the Wraiths cloak up, it's going to be tough for Hoejja to stop this. We do see a couple lurkers coming back. If Fantasy has control, Fantasy was not paying very much attention. Although he's going to be this is pretty much an elevator, elevating more troops into the main here. And here come the Wraiths going to be able to do some more damage. It looks like they're picking off the Queen's Nest, but I think they would be better off going for the Defiler mount. It looks like he split up his Wraiths, some chasing drones around, killing a lot of drones, and some others in the main as well, picking off all these lurkers. Those lurkers are taking a ton of damage. A couple of them have already gone down. Looks like one of the evolution chambers is going to go down, and the Hydra's dead, and the other evolution chamber is at risk of all the upgrades. An upgrade disadvantage for Zerg can be absolutely devastating, and these Wraiths are still being microed quite well. Here comes Hoejja with a large force of lurkers, lings, and Hydras, going to try and clear this up, and I think he will be still unable to clear this out. Just not quite able to deal enough damage. It looks like these most of the Wraiths have been destroyed, but Hoejja has used an incredibly large amount of forces to clear this out, and now he's finally got Defilers, probably maybe with Consume at this point, has probably been just about finished at this point, but there are 2 Science Vessels, and if a couple of Radiates go off on the first couple of Defilers, it's going to be virtually impossible for Hoejja to defend. He's really going to need these Defilers in order to defend effectively, and it's a really tough job here to keep them safe against against the Science Vessels. They're going to be coming up quite numerously. Remember, there's 3 starports, so he can produce 2 to 3 vessels. Probably doesn't have the gas to produce more than out of 2 starports, but still, if he does skimp on tanks here and there, he could produce another Science Vessel or so. So that could be really devastating. And now here comes Fantasy into the third base of Hoejja. Is going to take this down. That lurker is getting picked off, and going to hold the ramp as well with a couple with Marines and a couple medics, and going to stop the rest of the forces from Hoejja from coming up, or at least delaying them very effectively. While the rest of the Marines are going to take down this hatchery. This hatchery is just about down. The Defiler does get irradiated, gets 1 swarm off. But the hatchery is already done. The damage has already been dealt, and that swarm just came down too late here. And it looks like Hoejja is going to be drawing dead here. He's just about out of drones at his natural expansion. He might have been able to retreat a few here from the third base, but he's really only mining off of 2 bases, and it looks like what's his face? Fantasy has taken his third base as well at the 9 o'clock position or so, and some good Wraith micro there, picking off the Scourge before they were able to hit the Science Vessels. Finally, this attack at the third base of Hoejja is going to get cleaned up, but he is just falling behind right now. He's got the Hive Tech out, which is nice, but he's missing out on forces on the field. If you could see the psi counts, I bet it would be something like 40 psi, 45 psi for Hoejja, to probably somewhere around 70, 80, maybe even more, maybe even around 100 for Fantasy. So Fantasy is definitely in a pretty big advantage in that sense, and it's going to be tough for Hoejja to really come back in this. I don't know if he has the economy to produce a lot of Defilers and also produce the necessarily cracklings and lurkers to really support it. And a couple Scourge coming in here going to pick off a dropship that doesn't really have any in it. Really, Hoejja needs to be picking up the Science Vessels. We need to stop those Science Vessels from gathering in numbers. That's really more of a priority right now than empty dropships. But any damage, of course, is good. And Hydralisk coming out with the Lurker, which is just weird. And the Defiler with the Defiler does get irradiated. And he gets a nice Plague Goo off, catching a lot of those Marines. So those Marines are going to be highly damaged. So in that sense, the Hydras will be